These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
It's a scoop session here with our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson. He's been up. He just basically went right home from the stadium like 10 minutes ago. He's just been lurking around the locker room, gathering information. So,
it was one heck of an after party with Vanilla Ice, I'll tell you that.
I bet. Okay. Comes in, plays 2 songs for 10 minutes, and then tears the city down. So we'll get to Doogie's thoughts and information from the locker room after last night's win by the Vikings. A quick reminder to you guys, the audience, that all week long at SKORNorth.com, keyword auction, it is the annual holiday auction, the SKOR North annual holiday auction, where these could be great holiday gift ideas, like ultimate golf package you can bid on at Deer Run Golf Course. Free education with a certificate program at the Institute for Non-Destructive Testing. Go read about that at SKORNorth.com/ or keyword auction. A Canadian fishing package for 4 at Fletcher Lake Lodge, all kinds of cool stuff. So, okay, Doogie, you were roaming the locker room. You were on the field pregame. You guys did a pregame show. Just give us a vibe check from that locker room after a 30-12 win to put the Vikings in position to control their destiny.
Well, on the news front, let's get that out of the way. Saw Stephon Gilmore, saw Ivan Pace Jr. So Gilmore trending toward being back for the Seahawks game. So you think about DK Metcalf, Smith Najigba. Now, we don't know if Geno Smith in this moment on Tuesday is going to play or if it'll be gunslinger Sam Howell, but trending in the right direction on Gilmore. Same for Ivan Pace Jr. So he was hurt in the Bears game at Soldier, correct, Judd? So yes, then placed in IR. So Atlanta game, Arizona game, not in that order. Arizona game, Atlanta game for the order. The Bears home game last night. And then has to miss the Seahawks game, but trending toward Ivan Pace Jr. being back on December 29th against the Packers. By the way, enough stadium workers have been told to prepare for a 3:25 kickoff. Nothing is official yet, but workers have been told prepare, minimum prepare, that it will not be a noon game as currently scheduled, but get shifted to 3:25 on December 29th. But in this moment, nothing official on that. Okay, a few things that stood out to me. Jonathan Grenard. I asked Jonathan, hey, how great a feeling is a strip sack? And you may have seen the soundbite, shameless plug for my social media, my X account at DWolfsonKSTP. I know Kevin Seifert, some others, put out the words. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but he said, it is the best feeling imaginable. My wife even knows that. I then said, hey, really? He goes, oh, yeah, she knows. So Jonathan Grenard in the moment with maybe perhaps the soundbite of the year as we're counting down the days in 2024. Jonathan Grenard, maybe the soundbite.
What do you want to do for Valentine's Day? You want to dim the lights and strip sack me? Yeah? Okay.
Let's
Harrison Smith
over.
Still kicking himself 30 minutes after the game for the first dropped interception. Not the one on that, sort of Hail Mary, Caleb Williams scrambling all around, right corner, sort of right corner of the end zone. He wasn't mad about that one, but the first one, the amount of time that I've seen Harrison Smith on the jugs machine catching those fastballs, heck, with one hand. Like, Harrison Smith rarely drops with one hand a ball off the jugs machine. It was a fastball, but he was kicking himself. He's like, I have to make that catch. That should have been an interception. He told me he will live with that, in his words, for the rest of his life. I said, have you ever had that feeling before? He's like Rain Man. Phil, he goes, 8 years ago, Judd, maybe you remember this game. It was a game he said against the Houston Texans. So I guess it was 2016. Okay. There was some ball that he should have had that he dropped. To this day, 8 years later,
that's funny.
Harrison Smith is still upset about that drop.
That's the game right before the bye in 2016 where they were 5-0. Is that correct? Going into that game, but those guys remember. Some of those guys remember everything. Like it's like baseball guys who can recite, at bats from 20 years back. So, and he's right. He should have caught that ball, and if he catches that ball, that might be a pick six.
Judd's like that with his takes. There was that show back in March of 2014 where he just If you could have that one
just
take
drop
back.
that take.
Yeah.
I just drop that take. No, that's exactly right.
Brian O'Neill getting a checkup this morning. He said he feels okay, but is going to get that right knee checked out. Did come back with a brace on that knee. So we'll keep an eye on his situation. Otherwise, a lot of jubilation. I mean, Justin Jefferson was kicking himself for dropping that ball that I think he ends up. I don't think the Bears DB was going to get him out at the 2 or 3 yard line. He had the angle. He would have scored a touchdown. He said he just took his eye off the ball. He said he will lose sleep over that drop. Otherwise, a lot of guys, right attitude, talking about, hey, let's just respect the moment. We get it. Like, to use the cliche, control our destiny, can be the 1 seed, but not thinking like that. Sole focus on Seattle, but certainly recognizing, right? I mean, that was part of Kevin O'Connell's post-game locker room speech, that, hey, let's play as many games in this building as possible. And, hey, the NFC looks even more wide open now after those Lions injuries. I'm just thinking about a potential Eagles-Vikings NFC Championship game. If you are to play the Eagles, you want to play them. This is not breaking news or some sort of outlandish take. You want to play the Eagles in U.S. Bank Stadium, not in Philly. So enough players recognize that, but really said all the right things about sole focus a few days out playing Sunday in Seattle.
And Dukes, I think what last night was important too is not that it was a particularly pleasing game to watch, but I think the important thing is if you go back, the Minnesota Vikings have lost that game more than once. Like there's been, I go back to 2009 when the Vikings went to Chicago and lost in OT on the Devin Aromashadu touchdown catch, and that ends up biting you in the ass because I think if you win that game, you're hosting the conference championship game. So like this is the important thing here is not how did the win look. It's you played a bad team, you beat them pretty soundly, and most importantly, that's not always a game this franchise has won. So like there's an appreciation there, or there should be, I think, for the fact that, to use your term, you took care of the business that you had to, and now you're giving yourself a fighting chance to actually have home field.
Yes. Now, hey, don't get me wrong, right? I mean, Cam Robinson, multiple pre-snap penalties, 10 penalties total against a good team. Are you really converting a 3rd and 10, a 3rd and 15, and a 3rd and 17? Are you getting 2 4th and short stops? Like, I had no problem with the Bears going for it on those 4th downs. Like that first one in particular, why was DeAndre Swift so far behind the quarterback? Like, it felt like the pitch went back like 7 or 8 yards. Like, just move Caleb Williams forward. That was really, really weird. I just don't know if you're doing that against the Eagles or the Lions or the Buccaneers or the Rams come mid to late January. But sure, celebrate the fact, Judd, that they have lost that type of game in the past, yet you still end up winning by 18 points in a position to, yes, run the table here. And as far as we can tell, if the Eagles finish 15-2, if the Vikings finish 15-2, it comes down to the 4th tiebreaker, strength of victory. Now, I guess that could fluctuate the next few weeks.
Yeah.
But it certainly looks like, maybe you guys have done a deeper dive on this, but it certainly looks like even if the Eagles finish, with these wins and, hey, maybe the Giants somehow win all their other games or whoever else is on the Eagles' schedule, it still looks like, because the Vikings also have the Giants on their schedule, right? But it looks like strength of victory, the Vikings have that edge over the Eagles.
Yeah, if the Vikings win out, they have a 98% chance at the number 1 overall seed, with the 2% being like 4th, 5th tiebreaker stuff that would be, it would sway based on other teams winning and losing and their percentages. Yes.
Right now, the strength of victory is the Eagles 440, the Vikings 387, but the last 3 games will flip that.
Yep.
Because Philly goes
Packers
through a non-gauntlet, and the Vikings go Seattle, Green Bay, and then Detroit. So that will flip.
Seattle maybe without Geno Smith, but you still beat them with their whatever their record is, like 8-6, I want to say.
Not bad.
So you'd still get that. Dukes, is there on Kevin O'Connell, and I know part of your pregame feature was on the locker room speeches, and you talked to a bunch of different players. But I'm just going to throw. So I just feel like we are looking at the beginning of a 10 to 15 year run as Vikings head coach. I think he's going to right now. We look at the league, and 90% of the coaches were hired in the last 5 years. But you've got John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, these guys who've been mainstays for over a decade with their teams. I think in 10 years, KOC is going to be he's going to be the longest tenured coach right there with a small handful of others. He is now 32-16 in the regular season. He's 12-2 with Sam Darnold. All other coaches are 21-35 with Sam Darnold. He was 17-8 with Kirk Cousins. All other coaches are exactly 500 with Cousins. And he was 2-2 with Josh Dobbs. All other coaches were 1-9 with Josh Dobbs. And I told these guys on Purple Daily today, what if you get, all due respect to Darnold, super talented, Kirk, but like, what if you get this dude a bona fide top 5 talent quarterback at that? Like, what if McCarthy is that guy? And now you pair him up for 10 years. Do we, as fans, media, and even people you talk to in the organization, do we appreciate what's happening here with Kevin O'Connell? Do you agree with where I'm at with this?
Absolutely agree. I think the appreciation is growing. I think we collectively, the four of us, certainly appreciate his brilliance. I believe as of this morning, he is now the betting favorite to win Coach of the Year. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Phil, he is going to sign a lucrative contract extension. Trust me, the Andrew Millers of the world, the Mark Wilfs, the Ziggy Wilfs, they want Kevin here for a really long time. And if they happen to get upset in the first round of the playoffs, let's say they end up as the 5 seed, go to 4 seed, LA or Arizona or maybe Tampa, they end up losing that first game on the road, this conversation isn't any different. He is still going to sign a massive, massive contract extension. And yes, like Sean McVay is in year 7 or year 8 as Rams coach. And Sean McVay isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Kevin O'Connell is going to follow a similar path.
Dukes, let's talk about Grenard, to go back to him, because aside from the great quote that he gave you too, this guy has made such a difference. And Daniil Hunter is a great player. We've talked about this before. But the fit that Grenard has been, and the motor that he brings on a consistent basis, and his play, in my opinion, has actually ascended, improved. But I threw this out to these guys on Purple Daily. As good as like Blake Cashman has been, is Grenard the MVP of this defense? Because when you look at what he has brought and the consistency, I've been blown away by a guy that you knew coming from Houston was good. Full disclosure, I had no idea that he would be this impactful, which is a credit to him and, of course, Brian Flores.
Yes, I think so. Now, could you also make a case for Andrew Van Ginkel? Certainly make a case for Blake Cashman. By the way, Blake was walking around the locker room late last night saying, I need a chiropractor. I need a massage ASAP. Like that hit he took after the strip sack, recovering the fumble, that was one heck of a hit. That was early in the game. Then you think about just all the collisions during the course of the rest of the game.
Nobody blocked for him on that play. He had the cavalry ready, and like they all forgot to block. That should have been a touchdown.
Well, it should have. Grenard even said that. He said, I'm going to have to give Blake some grief. He should have found his way to the end zone. But yes, you could certainly make a case, a strong case, Judd. Yeah, Jonathan Grenard is this team's defensive MVP. I go back to the start of free agency. I mean, Drew Rosenhaus's representation. I mean, the Vikings worked Drew pretty hard, right? Andrew Van Ginkel, Aaron Jones, and Jonathan Grenard. Snap of the fingers, then working out the extension for Christian Darrisaw. Even a Bobby McCain type move, right? Like Drew Rosenhaus, for a while, wasn't heavily involved with the Vikings. Now all of a sudden, Drew Rosenhaus, power agent, heavily involved with the Vikings, but there was enough interest in Grenard, but the Vikings identified him, long before the start of free agency, then were uber aggressive once free agency kicked off to complete that deal. Now to see how good of a player he is, I'm with you, Judd. I mean, I remember him a little bit at the University of Florida. Not like I was watching a whole lot of Houston Texans games the last few years. Like I knew the name a little bit, had no idea he is this good. In fact, not only could you make a case he is the defensive MVP for the Vikings, is he one of the 5 most important defensive players this year? I'm not talking total, but for this year to any team in the league? Like, could you make a case? I'm not saying he's 1 or 2, but could you make a case he's like top 5?
Man, I mean, that's a fun exercise. I would still fight for Blake Cashman on that. I mean, they're 11-0 when Blake Cashman starts, and they have the number 1 scoring average defensively when he starts. But Grenard, yeah, I mean, he is. So his previous, according to PFF, his previous career high in pressures was 53 last year with the Texans. And PFF gives him 66 pressures so far this year with 3 games to go. And he's just a small handful behind Myles Garrett for the league lead and 1 behind Trey Hendrickson, who's having a monster year on a bad defense in Cincinnati. And he's also tied for second in stop tackles. So like as a tackler, he's been better. You know, we'd have to go look at like some of the other position groups and interior defense. There's some beast defensive players right now around the league. But yeah, like just like go back 9 months ago, and all this consternation about saying goodbye to Kirk and also saying goodbye to Danielle Hunter, and what a grave mistake the franchise is making letting these 2 talented players go. But then Kwesi comes in with all of this newfound long-term cap space and just signs a bunch of instead of having a pretty good quarterback but aging and coming off an injury and a really good edge rusher, they wind up getting a really good edge rusher who's having a better year than Danielle Hunter and like 6 other pieces, you know? So it's just incredible work by Kwesi, and I think what I will say definitively is Grenard is having a better season than Danielle Hunter for much less money. And then you get Andrew Van Ginkel for the remaining money, and Blake Cashman, et cetera, et cetera.
Could you make a case? You ready for this one? Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, Executive of the Year?
Yes.
Pro personnel wise, nobody has had as good of a year as the Vikings. Nobody. Now we can quibble about drafts, but when you look at pro personnel, when you look at free agent classes, supplemental additions, look, the thing that sort of puts me over the top is Christian Darrisaw gets hurt in a second consecutive loss. This becomes a very important, like, to go back to that loss, second loss in 5 days, right? Like, this is sort of a season on, okay, what direction? And there's talk about, okay, is Blake Brandel, who's you know, not a great left guard, but he's okay. Is he going to move to left tackle? And then you're going to put Dalton Reisner back at left guard, and then you're going to do this. And somebody, Kwesi gets credit, comes along and says, no, you know what? We're going to trade a draft pick for a starting caliber, not Darrisaw, but a starting caliber left tackle who had a rough game last night. But that's what pushes me a lot, because it's like at the deadline you were still operating as if, okay, no, we got a good thing here. Let's not screw that up. So I think from a pro personnel standpoint of free agency and then supplemental additions, including just depth guys, yes, I think there's a very good case.
But you say like
Kwesi.
Pro personnel, yes, but even the draft, like McCarthy, we don't know. I mean, Kyrie Jackson passed away, so you can't. I mean, Dallas Turner has been sort of buried because of the depth there. But like last night, for instance, the PFF grades just came out. So I'll give you on the defensive side. If you take away, well, let's take away Bo Richter because he only played a few snaps. But of the 5 highest graded players on defense in last night's game, number 1, Dwight McGlothern, undrafted free agent. Number 2, Josh Metellus, who was here before Kwesi. Number 3, Jalen Redmond, who they picked up from the XFL, right?
Yeah,
or
it's
the
another
whatever,
guy they just brought in. Absolutely.
And then Dallas Turner was actually, in 34 snaps, Dallas Turner was the next highest graded player on defense last night. So in addition to pro personnel, and then Will Reichert, by the way, bangs home a 52-yarder, and he seems to be back from the injury. Well, they drafted him in the 5th round or whatever it was. Yeah, absolutely, Dukes. Absolutely, you could make a case that he's the executive of the year.
Had a nice talk with Dallas Turner in the locker room last night. He said that was a long time coming, that sack. We have to go all the way back
Yeah.
to him sacking his now current teammate Daniel Jones week 1 in New Jersey against the Giants. That's a pretty good tackle he beat too, right? First round guy, I believe first round guy, or if not, maybe early second round, but Tennessee. But he knew right from his SEC days, just flat out beat him. It was a brilliant, brilliant play by Dallas Turner. So we see the potential with Dallas. I'm not quite sure why he ran onto the field late twice. I don't know if that was a coach, if that was him. Did you notice that, Judd?
Yeah.
From up in the press box, there were 2 times that Turner came sprinting onto the field very last second. So, there's enough stuff to clean up, like something like that. The pre-snap penalties, some of the other stuff. But, yeah, I don't know who else. I'm thinking, you think about the really good teams, how much credit does Pittsburgh get for the Russell Wilson move? Were there some other moves in Pittsburgh?
I would say the Rams with, if you want to just look at draft, with Jared Verse and Blake Corum even is being used in that running game as their second running back. You have to go look and see what some of but in terms of free agency, did anyone else add 7 key starting players that are all playing awesome and maybe Pro Bowl caliber? Because that's what Kwesi did. It's crazy.
And this too. So in 22, they come in and they basically run that team back, right? 13 wins. That's great. You're out in the first round. But look at the roster construction now. If you look at what they've done, they basically, so Brian Flores came in and propped up a defense that had been horrible, and it became, good. It became decent. Then they went back to work. And that's the thing too, is if you guys go back to when we now know that Spielman and Zimmer didn't talk, right? They quit talking. They didn't communicate. If you look at the communication that's gone on inside that building to build this team, and, Flores chimes in. Hell, Flores' buddy in Eden Prairie says, you should look at this Blake Cashman kid. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he does. And he's like, okay, that works. And O'Connell with his quarterbacks, and then Kwesi goes out and does the grocery shopping. That's the thing about this. The destruction of this franchise with 2 guys in key roles who didn't talk, and now guys that are communicating constantly. And, I'll continue to say, I don't believe that Kwesi's a football guy. I don't think he's out there really. He scouts, but I don't think he's but what he's doing is he's working things when he's told this guy, how can we make this work? There's a lot of credit to be passed around in that building based on the construction of this current roster and how many people are involved in constructing.
But one thing to add to that, even though Kwesi isn't, he didn't play football and didn't come from a traditional football background, he doesn't chew glass in the way that Dan Campbell does, on a
or his
Tuesday
right-hand
off
man,
day.
Ryan Grigson.
Right, Ryan Grigson just sounds like a football guy. He understands value. I think he understands windows. He understands the things that sometimes the hardcore football guys eschew in their evaluations. He understands positional value. He understands salary cap value. He understands windows and ages and all these different things. And then he has people around him that, hey, to fill in the final gaps here from just a pure scouting perspective, let's lean on other people that maybe have a different background. So it was really rough out of the gate with that first draft, obviously. And you can't just remove it because it does exist on his resume. But the further you go along, it's like when you put together an updated resume, you don't leave I don't leave my Play It Again sports high school job on there, Declan at Wendy's or whatever. That first draft, let's just remove that from the Word document here. And maybe my resume starts with year 2 or year 3 if you're Kwesi.
I was thinking about Kwesi in the moment. So 2-minute warning. Game completely out of hand. I decide to head down toward the locker room. So I take the elevator down with Ryan Poles, Bears general manager.
I saw him last night.
Plus the rest of his front office. So in that moment, as I'm riding the elevator down to field level with Ryan Poles, I'm thinking, okay, 2022 could have looked a whole lot different. Now, Phil, what about Howie Roseman? So you sign Saquon. You draft the kid from Toledo. You draft the kid from Iowa. It looks like they hit on those top 2 draft picks big time.
You replace
I might be
Jason
forgetting
Kelce.
about a move or two.
Jason Kelsey retiring.
Get Saquon. Or Baltimore, just Derrick Henry. Are we forgetting a couple other moves in Baltimore? But the Derrick Henry signing right at the top of that list. But certainly, I'm just saying you can make a case for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah as executive of the year.
Yeah, and I think, too, much like with a coach, it's ordinarily probably going to be a person who wasn't expected much. There wasn't much expected from his team, and or he's newer. Like, God bless him, but, Howie Roseman's been around for a long time now, done a lot of good things. I don't think him building a roster back up is a surprise. He shouldn't be penalized for that. But when you look at what the Vikings did too, and just basically the amount of moves, like that free agent class to have as many hits, that's an enormous amount. Like that's not one guy. That's this whole like litany of hits. So that's what impresses me.
What about the Giants for executing a flawless tank job when everyone thinks they've been trying to win? What if we sign Daniel Jones to a franchise-crippling contract, say goodbye to our best player, Saquon Barkley, and just do like a stealth tank job to get Shedeur Sanders to be our franchise quarterback, huh? People are going to be mad, and they're going to fly planes with banners over our stadium, but we're gonna be in great position.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Malik Neighbors, that dude, like there's something there. If they get Shedeur, if Shedeur hits like people think he will, if Shedeur doesn't end up in Vegas, ends up with the Giants, Shedeur to Malik Neighbors, there's something to build off of there.
So if that's the case, do we think that it's a better chance that the Raiders or Giants would actually go with Dion as their coach? So like
I think the Raiders.
If Shedeur's going to go, right, and they're like, okay, because Antonio Pierce, I think very well is gone.
Yeah. Hey, we'll do some rapid fire scoops here to close out, but over on Underdog, you can have more fun watching football down the stretch here, Dex.
Yeah, football, basketball. I just got a nice little 50% profit boost on an NBA pick if I want to use that today. So that's the fun part of Underdog. Sometimes you just get little boosts there, so you can make plenty of different options from the NFL, NHL, NBA. Doesn't matter. Fantasy sports are always going on at Underdog. New users still get a 50% deposit match when they sign up with promo code SKOR. Promo code SKOR at Underdog for a 50% deposit match.
Hey, Woodhouse Spas could be a great gift idea here. All right, we had a Purple Daily listener a few days ago reach out and say, I just bought my wife, a $500 gift card to Woodhouse Spas. I don't know if it was the Maple Grove, the Woodbury, the Rosedale Center location. There's 3 locally owned Woodhouse Spa locations. But yeah, just if you're late on your holiday shopping here, just go get a gift card. Over 70 spa services. You could even make, if you have like an anniversary, birthday, wedding coming up, someone in your friend or family group, keep Woodhouse Spas in mind. Gift cards available in spa or online at woodhousespas.com. I am a massage guy. I'm good for 2 or 3 massages a year. Always good to work out the tension
Blake
from
Cashman.
these high-stress
Blake
Viking
Cashman
seasons.
Blake Cashman, dude, to Woodhouse.
Yeah. He's probably, I'm thinking maybe Maple Grove. He's probably living, I don't know, or maybe he's more of a Woodbury, Woodhouse Spas guy.
He would be more a Woodbury guy, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, would he? Okay. I think Western Woodbury kid.
Got the ETS connection there, training in Woodbury.
Right.
I would say between Maple Grove and Woodbury, he has probably spent more time in Woodbury the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's
But
Woodhouse
he's got
Spas.
options. Yeah.
WoodhouseSpas.com.
Absolutely has options, maybe based on where he lives. Yeah, maybe Maple Grove. Either one, absolutely.
I didn't mean to start a controversy here. I was just throwing it out there.
No, it's not a controversy. We're trying to solve Blake's dilemma. Yeah, he needs to get
Dudes,
that massage today, so it makes sense.
Give us a minute or two of rapid fire scoops here to send us on our way.
So, Twins fans, rightfully so, late last week, Bloomberg News, great reporting on Justin Ishbia being very much interested in owning the Twins. You do a little bit of a background check on him. His company in Chicago, it's like one of their goals. It's like written in different spots in their, palatial offices that owning a Major League Baseball team is a want. That has been a legit goal. So Justin has reached out to a number of Minnesota luminaries, including a higher up at Marvin Company up in War Road. trying to drum up interest of some big shots here in the state of Minnesota to join him. So, okay, he's the majority owner, but you're going to have 5 to 10 to 15 limited partners. And so Justin has been aggressively reaching out the last few weeks to a number of individuals. I regret not doing more work on him, going back to the news when it broke that the Poleheads were at least exploring the possibility of a sale, because now knowing, like, that's written on the wall, like that is a stated goal at his office, like it makes all the sense in the world. His brother, whatever you think of the Phoenix Suns, like if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, I'm just telling you, I don't think you could talk to a Phoenix Suns fan that doesn't love the fact that Matt Ishbia is the Suns' majority owner. Matt, by the way, had interest in the Wolves going back a few years. I think we've discussed that at different points over the last few years. But Justin being in the mix for the Twins, to me, that should be celebrated. I just don't know if anybody really is going to trump what he can offer. Total package. Now, in terms of the monetary offer, are the Poleheads willing to sell for anything less than what the Orioles sold for earlier this year? 1.71 billion. I don't think so, not right now. So what price is Justin willing to pay? Like, are we talking 1.4, 1.3, maybe 1.5? Or are the Poleheads demanding like 1.75, 1.8, 1.85? That's where it could get a little sticky. But like Twins fans, hearing that news from late last week on Ishbia being in the mix, like there's a lot to love about that. Like I don't see any negative. And this comes from somebody who did enough research on his brother when his name came up with the Wolves, and some connections with Glenn Taylor going back a few years. Heard enough good things, Michigan State connection, some people there. I'm just saying, like, Twins fans should very much root. Put it this way. Twins fans should very much root for the Ishbias, because I think Matt would be involved too in some capacity. The Ishbias becoming majority owners.
Justin also has followed some Twins-related counts on Twitter. Justin Ishbia has. So he doesn't follow many people and doesn't tweet much, but I find it very interesting.
He's doing his research.
He's hit some follow buttons on not the beat reporter here. He didn't follow Deck's tweets yet. I don't know why he hasn't. But he has followed some Twins accounts, just FYI.
Man alive. Now, I will tell you, if I'm Jerry Reinsdorf, trust me, Justin being based there in Chicago, okay? Not that you can't hop on a private jet, get to where you need to go pretty quickly. But, like, if you're Jerry Reinsdorf, it's time to sell the White Sox. If I'm Jerry, okay, Justin, you're right here in Chicago. Here you go. Meet my price, which would be north of what the Twins' valuation is. But, hey, you're right here in Chicago. Come buy the White Sox from me. And my understanding is there's been some level of interest from Justin at some point, but Jerry has been reluctant. My advice to Jerry, not that he needs it or wants it, but Jerry, time to listen to Justin, time to sell the White Sox. Your franchise right now is very much a dumpster fire. Like, you can do a lot of good for a lot of people that root hardcore for the White Sox. Time to sell your franchise to Justin Ishbia. But if you're a Twins fan, you don't want that to happen, I promise.
Yeah. Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News.
Our Wolves are back, Phil. 6 of 7. Cats return on Thursday. National television late Thursday night. Holding what? In those 6 wins, all opponents to what? 92 points or less? The D is back. We're back.
Darn right. The sports dad and myself will be in attendance on Thursday night.
Oh,
very exciting. Yeah.
Can't wait.
All right, Dukes. Yes. We'll see you on Thursday.
Yeah, we'll talk on Thursday. Reckless Speculation Thursday.
Go rest up. Go get some more Gatorade and take a nap.
Yep.
All right.
Got it. Thank you.
Darren Doogie Wolfson. Little scoop session here on Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd.